Hello, welcome again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
And we are... Whoa, look. There goes the FAIRtax Guys. We'll keep the bloopers in there. I mean, why not? I mean, we could edit that out and do it again, but let's just...
start the episode without the lights or forget to plug in the microphone.
Things happen.
Yeah, anyways. So, right. We're glad to be with you once again, all right, on our weekly FAIRtax Power Radio. We're going to do a Congress.gov. You got some good ones there?
Yes, we are. But again, I want to make one more thing. I want to still challenge everybody to make an appearance at CPAC if they can.
Next year.
You've got a whole year to start saving for it if you want to. Unfortunately, none of the state organizations or the national organization has the budget to back anybody.
Yeah.
But if you got a whole year to mess with it, I want 500 FAIRtax volunteers at CPAC next year. And what would really be cool, remember that thing we were going to do with Steve Hayes and Congressman Yoho, the little town hall question and answer?
Oh, yeah.
Let's make a breakout session at CPAC out of that.
That would be good.
I don't know who to talk to, but we will get going on that. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So, Congress.gov.
This is Bob's favorite part.
I love seeing what nobody pays it. Congress gets away with this because people don't pay attention to what they're doing. And I do. H.R. 1712, which was introduced a couple of days ago from our recording session here, to amend the Internal Revenue Code to repeal the estate and generation skipping transfer taxes.
Oh.
I have no clue what the estate and generation skipping transfer taxes are, but I can tell you that adds to the instability of the tax code.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So whoever's using that, this is another winners and losers job. H.R. 1684 to amend the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 to provide tax credits for energy storage technologies. Consider that big batteries or whatever.
Yeah,
how else do you... Well, I guess you could consider a big petroleum tank like they have at the airport where they keep all their jet fuel in it.
You could consider water behind a dam as an energy storage system. Yeah.
Yes, this is to amend to
Don't get the science teacher going. I could come up with all kinds of stuff.
You get a tax credit for energy storage technologies.
Tax credit.
You get a tax credit.
So that's a credit, not just a deduction.
Not just a deduction, a credit. That's applied to the amount that's the biggie.
Yeah.
That's applied to the amount of tax you owe, not the amount of income that you owe taxes on. You can see this one coming a mile away. H.R. 1683 to amend the Internal Revenue Code to exclude certain student loan forgiveness from gross income. Usually, if you get a loan forgiven, they consider that income. But apparently, if you get
because our friends in Congress never hesitate to think of another way of collecting taxes. Loan forgiveness is considered income, so you got to tax it.
There is a huge push from certain people up there in Congress to forgive student loan.
Yes. And so other people want to collect taxes on the amount forgiven.
In other words, they want everybody else to pay off their loans for them. Now, where I grew up, if you made a loan, you paid it back. End of discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
I certainly did. Took me several years to do it, but
I don't want to get too far off into the weeds on that. But that's what they're trying to do with the tax code. That's crazy. And here's one that'll just kind of gall your gizzard, like Roscoe P. Coltrane. H.R. 1665 to amend the Internal Revenue Code to deny the deduction for executive compensation unless the employer maintains profit-sharing distributions for employees. In other words, Uncle Sam is going to tell you how to run your business and how you can pay your people.
Because the people in Congress are such great business heads, all right? Except the fact that many of them have never worked in the private sector. They've gone from college, maybe had a part-time job someplace, and then got elected.
Straight into
politics. Got elected
to
a local office, got elected to a state office, got elected to a national office. They've spent their entire adult life getting elected. They have no concept of business. And unfortunately, there's way too many people in Congress with that kind of a background. And this is an example of one.
Yeah. And you know how we need to get rid of all this?
Yeah.
Defund the IRS
because
taxpayers
matter.
We need to get rid of this. Pull it out by the root. You can't. We've seen last year Congress, there are close to 2,000 or so.
Oh, it was over 2,100. Yeah.
Hits on that search. If you go into the search function at congress.gov, put the words Internal Revenue Code in quotes and search on that, you'll get over 2,000 hits in the last Congress.
And they were averaging 9 proposals each day they were in session to change the tax code, to change your tax code, to make it more difficult for you and corporations to keep up with the income tax, as if it's not hard enough already.
Fortunately, not everything here is going to become law, but enough. Throw enough stuff at the wall, some of it's going to stick. So
okay.
We will dive in there again next week on FAIRtax Power Radio to be sure. But we want to get back. We dealt last week with some comments from readers, listeners, viewers, whatever we want to call them.
And we've got a couple of more. One of them is very unusual. But the first one is worth handling. This is from our friend Lance Sanders. Okay. I support the fair tax, but struggle to answer this question. Can you please explain how projects under the fair tax that may help a community thrive will be built without tax incentives? Building and expanding shopping malls, for example. Okay, there's several ways to approach this.
Yeah, Lance, we appreciate the question for sure, but if I'm reading it right, you're kind of mixing apples and oranges here. Remember that the fair tax on the federal level replaces the federal income tax.
Right.
The states we talked about last week that are looking at replacing their state income taxes with a fair tax-like consumption tax, that would do that. But when you're a local community trying to attract, I'm thinking the FedEx distribution center we got here in Marion County several years ago. There's fierce competition for things like that are going to bring lots of jobs to whichever place is successful in luring them here. But when you're trying to lure something, if Ocala is competing against Orlando, it's competing against Jacksonville, it's competing against Atlanta, none of those places can offer relief from the federal income tax or from their state income tax as part of the incentive package. So if the fair tax replaces the federal income tax, a state level fair tax replaces the state income tax, it's going to have absolutely no effect on how communities can try to court these kind of things, because they cannot offer breaks from the taxes that the fair tax is going to replace. And of course they can't offer breaks from the fair tax either.
No.
When you're
So they can the local officials can offer certain tax incentives like reduced property taxes or property tax forgiveness for a number of years.
You waive the impact fees, or you waive the stormwater assessments,
and they may lobby the state, to give some relief. Okay, but there's no assurance that they can do that.
So when local communities are competing with each other for these community projects, the only thing that they can offer for sure is relief from their local taxes, which is usually impact fees and all kinds of fees, and then the property taxes as well. And in places where the county owns the utilities, they may give them a break on their electric bill, but none of them can offer relief from the federal income tax as part of their incentive package. So the fair tax, if I'm reading this question right, it sounds like he's thinking that the fair tax just replaces every tax in the world.
Yeah, it does sound like that. And plus, if you're depending on tax incentives, all right, in other words, tax breaks to get something done, then
that's just the way the game is played sometimes.
Because I've heard this on the radio and TV before. Some congressperson will say, "Well, they want to give corporations tax breaks." No, they want corporations to keep some of their own money. All right. In order to think like that, you must assume that the federal imperial government owns all money, and it's up to them to decide how much of your money or their money you're allowed to keep. That's not the way it is. If somebody gets a tax incentive or a tax break, they're paying less taxes to Uncle Sam. They're keeping more of their own money that they earned. Okay? It is not the federal government owns no money. They get all their money from we taxpayers, whether they're corporate, and even if they're corporate taxpayers, it's the individual pays for it eventually. So everything that the federal government gets is from individuals. They are dependent on us, okay? And tax incentives, tax breaks, whatever, well, okay, that just means that the individual or the corporation is going to pay a little less tax, which means they're going to keep more of their own money, okay? Tax incentives are not the only way that a corporation can expand, or that a company can put up a shopping mall or something like that.
You can get a professional sports team to come play.
Yeah.
All that works the same, but the fair tax is not going to affect the type of tax incentives that are offered in these cases. And Lance, thank you for the question. I hope we've interpreted it correctly.
But there's another aspect too. Under the fair tax, all right, they're not going to need tax incentives because the fair tax is going to make it easier for corporations to do business. It's going to make it less expensive for corporations to do business, and it's going to make it easier for them to expand and build shopping malls and stadiums, sports stadiums, and expand their business and so forth. The fair tax is going to have a very positive effect on those type of projects.
Okay, well again, Lance, thanks for your question. I hope we've interpreted it correctly and have answered it correctly. If you need to follow up with us, thefairtaxguys@gmail.com. We'll be happy to hear from you again. And
Lance has given us some good questions in the past. So
he has. So hopefully we've got that one taken care of. You got a real winner over there, don't you?
Yeah, Randy sent this one the other day. And this is, I'm not going to mention the guy's name, but the subject in his email to Randy is taxes not needed.
Well, that would be nice.
Yeah, that would be nice, but not realistic. Okay.
Yes, the ideal tax system is one where everybody's rate is zero and the federal government remains fully funded. Now, if you can pull that off, you've got it.
Yeah, that's a good one. So I believe God protects us. So the only government duty that remains is welfare. Welfare should be the only duty of the government. How do we fund welfare? With administrative computer privileges, create a bank account, and add a big number to the bank account. From where? From where? Where are you going to add this big number? Okay. No taxes needed to fund the government budget. Even politicians aren't needed. We can send them home. Unless you want to make it official. The bank administrator could do all this and hand over the account to a politician to pay. All right, I'm sorry. There is nothing in that paragraph that I agree with, and I just don't see it feasible.
There's nothing in it that lines up with the Constitution.
No, exactly.
The Constitution, both on the federal level and various state ones, do define the various parts of legitimate functions of government, providing for the common defense, for one.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's more, and
there's other things. For instance, I mentioned it's a big country. We got 50 states, we got a lot of square miles, we got a lot of people, 330 million people and so forth. We have a National Bureau of Standards, okay? Weights and measures. All right, it's necessary. Yes, it's not in the Constitution as somebody pointed it out, but it's really necessary that we are one country and we have one standard system for weights and measures, okay? Not 50 different ones. That would be a disaster.
Yeah, that's actually how time zones came apart. Was every railroad was keeping their own time, and when they crossed they needed some standardization there, and they got that one. But don't get me started on welfare being a legitimate function of government. I don't find that in the Constitution either.
No. A common to provide for the common defense and for these other things.
We need an army.
The interstate highway system.
Well, actually, the primary function of government is to protect our liberties.
Yes. Yeah, that's the way it should be. It
Make sure that nobody's rights are trampled on. That everybody has equal opportunity, not necessarily equal outcome, but everyone has equal opportunity. That no one is discriminated against on any of the factors that people do that by, and keep the Army and the Navy and the Air Force and now the Space Force funded so that the enemies can't come get us. But there are some legitimate functions of government. But
and there's things that we all agree. For instance, maybe it's a socialist type of benefit, but a lot of people like Social Security.
Yes.
Okay, it's something that started a long time ago. The American people like it, so it's going to continue. Okay, and you're not going to do it without collecting taxes.
That's true. But again, we will encourage people who have questions like that to write us, thefairtaxguys@gmail.com. Leave us comments on our YouTube videos. Leave us comments on our Facebook page. But that kind of leads into something that we were talking about last week. You had a neat little list about all of the hidden taxes.
Oh, yeah.
When we were trying to dig up with how we define the 22% that's embedded cost of the tax system. And you came up with a neat list of all of the embedded hidden taxes. How many of these things are the FAIRtax going to get rid of? Let's go look at this. The one at the top of the list, it'll get that one for sure.
All right, there's this is a publication from the Institute for Policy Innovation, and it's from 2001, so it's 20 years old. Okay, hidden taxes. How much do you really pay? Can't go into a lot of this, but they have a list here right off the bat. Hidden taxes in the United States. Now, first off, as I read this, think about how many of these are consumption taxes, and how many of these do you hear about in the news on a regular basis. Okay, corporate income tax, fuel taxes, other excise taxes and sin taxes, employer share of payroll taxes, workers' compensation taxes, unemployment taxes, import taxes, hotel room taxes, airline taxes, state and local utility taxes, implicit telecommunications and electricity taxes, severance taxes, insurance premium taxes, license taxes, for instance, occupational, corporate, utility, alcohol, and amusement, and so forth. Now, a lot of those, a lot of those that I just mentioned are consumption taxes, and you may have never heard of severance taxes. Severance taxes, I had to look it up. I had no idea what they're talking about. And what it is when a corporation, say, takes iron ore out of the ground or petroleum out of the ground, they are severing that product, all right, that utility, that advantage from Mother Earth. And the state and local, some of the state and local authorities apply a tax to that. That's what severing. It has nothing to do with leaving your job. It is severing the product from the ground. You know. So, anyways, most of these things are consumption taxes. And the point I want to make is that you almost never hear of them. Have you ever heard of somebody? There's a headline in the paper. John Smith was arrested for not paying his implicit telecommunications and electricity taxes. No, you've never seen a headline like that.
Okay. Oh, mercy.
Now, if somebody doesn't pay the corporate income taxes, oh yeah, they can get in trouble. They can get in big trouble, yeah. And the employer share payroll taxes, yeah, that's a big deal. They have to do that.
Indeed. Okay, we're running down on time really quick. I want to get into this little thing you found. Every week we look at Congress.gov to see what the Congress critters are doing to the tax code and all of the crazy. We've documented the abuses of the IRS. We've documented the incompetency of the IRS. We've documented reason upon reason upon reason that the IRS should be defunded and gone, and the FAIRtax is the only thing that's going to do that. But how do you convince the IRS? Usually the IRS is trying to convince you that you owe them money. They're trying to convince this guy that they owe him like 6 figures.
This is different.
This is insane.
This is from Tax Law, and it's dated February 16th, so almost a month ago, okay? Lawyer tries to persuade IRS it doesn't owe him $285,000. Lawyer Todd Rothbard of Santa Clara, California, tried to reach the Internal Revenue Service after it told him in a January 4th letter that he miscalculated his 2019 taxes and he is due more than $284,000. And he is unable to reach the IRS at an 800 number on the letter, and he received a check for slightly more than $285,000. And it goes on to say that he and his tax attorney have said, no, they don't owe us that kind of money, and he knows what would happen if he cashed that.
What happens when they discover their mistake?
Yeah, then they want, $285,000 plus
interest and penalties.
Yeah, because the IRS accidentally or mistakenly sent him a refund that he doesn't really deserve. Okay, this is a little different. I couldn't believe this one when I read it. This you don't see this, but yeah, that's the nature of the income tax. The IRS makes mistakes. Okay,
the IRS makes humongous mistakes.
Yeah, this is a big one. And so probably what would happen is that a different agent would look at this and say, oh no, we didn't owe that money to him. You know, he needs to pay that back, like you say, with penalty and interest and penalties. Oh, jeez. That doesn't happen under the fair tax. Okay? Under the fair tax, you buy something, even if you bought a mega yacht, okay, a brand new mega yacht, you would pay the 23% on that. It would be done, okay? It's very simple to calculate. And nobody from the IRS is going to come and say, "Oh, you didn't have to pay that big sales tax." No.
One question: did he cash the check?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't read down far enough, and I would advise them don't cash the check, all right? Because somebody else at the IRS is going to have a different opinion.
Oh, man!
And it shows you something about the tax code and how unstable and unpredictable it is. Different people come up with different figures. So, and speaking of calling the IRS, this is from Politico Weekly Tax, again, February 16th. Okay, telephone line, give me some time. The IRS kicked off, again, this is almost a month ago. IRS kicked off its tax filing season on Friday, and it's been a rough start for any taxpayer trying to call the agency for help. Just what are the chances of getting through to someone at the IRS?
Not too good.
No, less than 10%. Okay. And those lucky enough, I'm not sure if I would consider myself lucky, but those lucky enough that actually have their calls picked up, chances are they won't get help at all because, or at least not much assistance as they might have wanted. The IRS is still struggling with the extra burden put on them because of the pandemic and the stimulus checks they're supposed to send out. Yeah, and I'm going to go to bat for the IRS. Okay,
I think there's another round of that coming. If I'm not mistaken.
All right, the IRS is an agency that was created to collect taxes. Yeah, they have to send refunds, but mostly they're there to collect taxes. But what is Congress doing? They're tasking the IRS with sending out these stimulus checks. Well, how much do you want to put on the backs of them? And they don't have that much time to actually calculate taxes that people owe. So actually getting a hold of somebody at the IRS and getting an answer to your question, not a very good chance. Not a very good chance at all.
Oh, mercy. Okay. So that is the kind of bureaucratic incompetence that the fair tax gets rid of in one fell swoop.
Yeah.
Just gone.
That's a little nuts. So
what, a little nuts? That's a lot nuts. I tell you what, they make a $285,000 mistake in the taxpayer's favor.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you can see the other shoe dropping from a distance on that one.
Indeed.
So, yeah. So
again,
anyways, it's not a good situation. All right, we can get rid of this madness by replacing the income tax with the fair tax, and we need your help to do it. We need you to contact your congressperson. All right, and it doesn't make any difference on what side of the aisle. It is disappointing. I looked at Congress.gov, and I found out that we had 3 more co-sponsors.
Excellent.
All right. Yep. And
but they're all from the same side of the aisle.
They're all Republican too.
This is something that everybody should like. It transcends political ideology. Show me someone on the other side of the aisle who would not like to get their entire paycheck or to get a refund every month. That's crazy.
Yeah. Show me somebody who wouldn't like to simplify things for companies. All right, corporations, they don't like instability and unpredictability. It's really difficult for them to plan for the future when the tax code changes almost daily.
Oh yeah, we look at that every week here on FAIRtax Power Radio.
Yeah,
we only scratch the surface as to how much stuff. Go in there to Congress.gov, do that search and see how much. What's close to?
Anyways,
not quite 300 of them already, and they've been in session a month or two. But anyhow,
so, time for our call to action.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go for it.
All right. Join AFFT. That's the national group, the Americans for Fair Taxation. You go to fairtax.org, and they make it very simple. You scroll down on the front page, and you'll see a section there for Get Updates, and you fill in your information. You won't get spam when you give your information to our friends at AFFT. They never share or sell your information. Okay. So, and you can also go to join the 1040 Club by going to fairtax.org/1040. And when you do that, you commit to sending them $10.40 a month. Those recurring contributions are very important for them because
it's an all volunteer organization, but we do have some rather massive expenses.
Yeah, especially the national group.
Yeah, right. Quickly, POPVOX, POPVOX.
Yep.
Go there. You can record your comments about any piece of legislation in front of Congress. We need as many people as possible to go there. Tell them that you support H.R. 25 in the House. We don't have a Senate bill yet, but support H.R. 25. We need numbers. We've got a huge percentage of the people that have responded there favor the fair tax, but the overall number is not that big, and we need to get that up. And also, if you at all possibly can, see if you can start saving now and join us at CPAC next year. I'm going to keep banging on this. I still want to see 500 fair tax people walking around there. I mean, you could...
It would be great. It really would be.
Because if you look at it the other way, if there's 500 people at a gathering like that, all wearing fair tax gear, that gives the political people and the media people the impression that, hey, this is a real movement.
That's right.
If they say 3 out of, 5, I don't know how many people were there, several thousand. Then that looks like a fringe issue, and we're not. This is a good thing to do. Join us at CPAC if you can.
And we need to make impressions not only on our elected official, but the media people there. All right,
especially since the media people don't seem to want to be talking about the fair tax now.
Yeah, we got to change that.
Absolutely. Right? I remember when Steve Hayes was on talking to Jim Varney one time, and Jim kept steering him away from the fair tax into some other idea. And so, whatever.
Until Steve mentioned the $9 trillion in evasion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of FAIRtax Power Radio. Thank you again so much for watching and listening. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
We are the FAIRtax Guys, reminding you that the fair tax is the only truly fair tax, and once you understand it,
you'll demand it. Thanks, folks. Follow the FAIRtax Guys on social media and their own website, fairtaxguys.com, and check back every week for a new episode of FAIRtax Power Radio.